All right, this is video 3 on the use of pointers. This is pointer arithmetic, and we're still dealing with arrays. Arrays and pointers share a lot of things in common. All right, in this code, I defined an array set. I made it the length of 10, right? And I assigned the values you can see in front of you. It's 2 to increasing powers, 2 to the first, 2 to the second, 2 to the third. So it's basically 2 doubled all the way up 10 times. 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, 128, 256, 5, 12, 10, 24. All you people in computer science are really familiar with these numbers since we are so into binary. All right. So nothing magic there, just a regular integer array, size 10. On the next line, I declare a variable, an integer pointer variable, num pointer. And there's the null pointer that I talked about in video 1. Basically, this line here just means it's not pointing to anything right now. All right. In the last video, I mentioned that when you're talking about an array and you mention the array without any brackets or any notation, you are talking about, especially in this situation, set without the brackets is pointing to the first element in the array. So set, here's your array, set 10, set size, all right? But here we're talking about set, we're talking about the array, but it doesn't have these brackets. All right? Without the brackets, it's just basically talking about set pointing to the first element. All right? Which is pointing towards a 2. So now here we use that, which is basically a pointer, and we assign it to num pointer, which we know is an integer pointer. All right? This is a little confusing at first, but you kind of get used to playing with it. Set is a pointer, and it's pointing to the first element in the array, and we're going to assign that to num pointer. They're integer pointers. I mean, this is totally legal, and you'll see it quite often. The one thing you have to focus in on is exactly, when you see set, that just looks like a variable. You have to remember, set is an array, but it's just a pointing to the first, where it's still associated with the array, but it's just pointing to the first element. All right, we are going to deal with these 10 numbers in both methods. We're going to use the historical array notation, the one that you're also used to, just to print it out. I'm going to print out the numbers in the set using array notation, a standard for loop. All right, I'm going to go from I equals 0 up to I size, and I'm going to print out every element one by one in the array. Okay, nothing you haven't seen many times before. All right, that's the first step. Okay, that's going to be my first line of code. My first line of code is just going to print out the numbers in the initial array. All right, this is where the pointer notation, pointer arithmetic comes in. All right, the numbers in the set doubled and stored in the array using pointer notation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change in this one array. We're only dealing with one array. Look back up at the top. We're only dealing with one array. I'm going to double every number and store it into that array. All right. Basic for loop again. But in the working area of the for loop is where this takes place. All right. Look here. I've got the dereferenced asterisk outside of the parentheses. All right. Num pointer is pointing initially, it is pointing to the first element in the array. All right. So as we go through this array, the first time through, it's going to be still pointed. This plus J, if you remember from the last video, All right. All that does is kind of increment within the array. So this is num pointer, basically num pointer 0 plus 0. So it's going to be still the first array times 2. And then we're going to store it indirectly. All right. That's what this is doing. This is storing indirectly into the array set. Up here, you can see set size. It's going to store it into that array because that's the only array we're dealing with. All right. This line of code here, and I intentionally only put one line of comments in this because I want to draw your attention to it. What I'm saying here, and if you have to pause the video and look at this for a few minutes, please do. All right. Set J, whoops. There we go. Set J, which is going to be set 0, then set 1, set 2, set 3, all the way up to set 10, times 2 is going to be stored in set J. This code right here does the exact same thing. This is going to be the first element in the array. It's going to multiply it by 2 and assign it back to the first element in the array. The for loop is going to increment, and this will become the second one. J will be 1, and this will point to set 1. Num pointer will point to set 1. All right. Multiply it by 2 and assign it to set 1. And it just goes through the array 10 times and doubles every element in it. All right. Give this line here, give this line of code a good look. And if you understand it, you understand this whole video. All right, now I'm going to just print out what is in the new, not the new, it's the same array, but all the data has changed inside of it. Each element has been doubled. And I'm going to print it out using another for loop. And again, I'm going to use pointer notation. I'm going to see out pointer, num pointer, dereferenced, outside of parentheses, num pointer plus 0, then 1, 2, 3, all the way up to 9, all right? And I'm going to see out the whole array. All right. Here's our initial. I'm just printing this out using, remember this one was, the first line was using array notation. This line just told me that I doubled it. And this here just is me having doubled everything and printing it out. The numbers in the set that are printed out using pointer notation 4 all the way up to 2048. Again, I kept this video short because I want you to look at this code. I always suggest to my students that they take notes on these videos and or type out this code. You can see this isn't a lot of code. It's 33 lines long with lots of white space. This wouldn't take long to put in. If you do it, you're more apt to understand it. But like I said in the video, this is the important line said earlier in the video. This is the important line that you understand.